Good evening and welcome to Encore on Midlands 103 with myself, Zoe Ryan. Coming up on tonight's show, an appeal, an award and an announcement. In the wake of one of the images being shortlisted in a prestigious astrophotography competition, Laois-based photographer Paul Fetherstonhaugh will be discussing how he went from capturing stills of wildlife to shots of astronomical objects. An Offaly-born film and television professional Christopher Galvin will be revealing the inspirations behind his writings ahead of launching his first book in his hometown this week. But first, increasingly it's becoming more difficult for me to source art forms I've not yet covered on the show, but I have managed to seek one out for us tonight. Joining me now in studio is founder of Clay by Clio, Cliona Higgins, who specialises in making handcrafted earrings. Cliona, thank you very much for making the journey out to us.
Thanks, Zoe. Thanks for having me.
Now, your pieces really are such unique, stunning works of art. How was it that you got into the business of creating jewellery?
Thank you so much for that. That's lovely to hear. So I always made jewellery. So I did a couple of courses pre-kids. So like about 20 years ago, I've 2 kids now at the moment, 10 and 12-year-old. And I knew it was something I'd get back to, but I'd make stuff that I wouldn't really stand over, that I just thought like I wouldn't wear that myself. So I wouldn't put it out there, and I didn't think it was something I could stand over.
Okay.
So then when the kids it was kind of post-COVID, a lot of people have their COVID story where they discovered their craft through COVID.
Yeah.
I was really busy. I have in my regular full-time job, it's really fast-paced, and I wanted something kind of slower that was, that would bring me down and be like my jewellery is really slow made now. And finally I had time to do it, I suppose. The kids was in 2023. The kids were finally in primary school and getting off at the same time. And I had till 10 past 2
You
for
had
myself.
a bit of time.
Had a bit of time.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm sick of hoovering. And I just found myself cleaning the house all the time and going to work and doing the kids' stuff. And I thought, I just want something for me.
Yeah, for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's where Clay by Clio really came from. I discovered polymer clay and started playing with that. And it just started to kind of come out of me, I suppose, if that sounds right. I started in 2023. And I actually found recently my New Year's resolutions for that year. I do them with the kids, just a bit of fun. I don't take it too seriously. But I kind of felt like I manifested this. I put down, start your own jewellery business, or start making jewellery, start your own jewellery business, put it up on Instagram and start selling and get one stockist. And by the end of the year, I had that. And It was amazing. And I just thought,
what an achievement.
Yeah. And I thought, go you. I think there's kind of a confidence for me anyway that comes with being older, starting this and just, I don't really care anymore. I'm just like, put it out there, see what happens. I think, the younger me would have overanalyzed it. I don't know, because it can be like really kind of personal. It's like you're putting your artwork out there for everybody to see and you're putting it online, which wasn't kind of natural to me. But I just thought, what have you got to lose?
Talk me through the creation process then, how you go from the idea to the finished piece.
Yeah, so it starts in my head, like most things, and I play around with that for a little while. Then I generally put it on paper and it'll change maybe a little bit again. I'll get a few more ideas, I'll add to that, and they're like really rough sketches. And then when I have the time to sit down and do it, it changes again almost. So it is very organic with me, and I feel like that's me as a person. I just kind of go on and see where it takes me. And I don't over plan things or, I don't overthink it, I suppose, and just see where I end up. So then when it's polymer clay, it's a very tactile thing to work with. So it's a quite a long process as such. You kind of have to warm it up first, and it's like a little baby. You've got to like warm it and then mould it and shape it, and then you roll it out. You're breaking down the particles within it to make it malleable. And sometimes that can take 10 minutes or it can take 40 minutes.
Okay.
So it's very hard on the hands. When I say handmade, I'm not lying. Every bit of it is handmade by me. So I start rolling it out. I put it through a pasta machine. And then I start adding texture to it or gold leaf. Maybe I'll put different colours together, do a bit of a design with that. And then I'm cutting out my shapes.
Yeah.
Then I'm baking it. So I bake it in the oven on like a really slow setting for about an hour. And then I'm filing, drilling, glossing, and finally putting the pieces together. So it's quite labour intensive. But it gives me such joy to do it. And as I say, it is slow. It's a really slow process. And it brings me quite down. So it's quite meditative.
Yeah, therapeutic.
Yeah, therapeutic. That's a better word.
And how is it that you kind of stumbled upon this craft? When was it that you learn how to use the clay?
Yeah, I suppose I'd say I'm more creative than artistic, so I wasn't going to sit down with pen and paper and do anything in that line, I suppose. With the polymer clay, I think I just stumbled upon it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because it seems like a bit of an outside the box one.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you can do that with it. Now, there's numerous things you can do with it. You can make little trinkets, you can make figurines out of it. That's far too detailed for me, and it's not where my passion is. It's earrings. So as I say, I had the background in the jewellery making from before I had the kids.
Yeah.
And then I discovered this. I think I might have come across it on Instagram or something like that. You know, the reels that you're just
some sort of online source.
Exactly. And going, oh, that looks really interesting. And I bought some and I just started playing around with it. And it just really grew from there. And I was really excited by the first thing I did with it. I actually made a mobile for my daughter to go in her room, just out of the different shapes. And I was like, these would make amazing earrings.
Okay, so when you saw them hanging, that's where the idea came from. And it seems like a very versatile type of a material. Like, I think when a lot of us think clay, we kind of picture pottery and we think very heavy. Yeah. Whereas you pride yourselves on these being really lightweight pieces.
Absolutely. They're super lightweight, and they're so, when you break them down, they're so malleable. So you can make them into anything, and you can do like colour blends. So like I remember like seeing a leaf and going, oh my God, that's such a beautiful colour sage, and going, I could make that. So you can buy it in like a green and a white and whatever colour. But to get the exact tone that you want,
you need to mix.
You mix it all in. And again, that's a lovely process as well, just seeing that come together. So.
What would some of your inspirations be for the pieces? So as you said, the initial idea came from, you saw it hanging and you went, okay, that could be a nice earring. But the designs themselves, where do your inspirations come from for those?
All over, I think, really. Like, I literally could be walking and see somebody wearing a dress and go, oh my God, I love that print. I'm like, what about that colour with this colour? It's all around us. And I think once you get into that creative zone, it's everything you see. Like, I saw a pub on the way down here and it was black on this like lovely kind of taupe tone. I thought that'd be really
gorgeous. Yeah.
So everything I do can translate to an earring. And as I say, that might morph along the way and become something different at the end product. But
once you get into
spark, of inspiration. It could be a beautiful flower that I see and the leaf with it. I like kind of combining two colours and playing them off against each other,
Okay.
So, that's really, I think, as I say, when you're in that creative zone, it just becomes your world and you see
you're seeing it everywhere.
Almost, So, it's everywhere.
And it's not something that you do often, but you have on occasion done pieces inspired by maybe populist things. Like I know you did like a Beetlejuice collection when that film was being released.
Yeah, and again, it's just inspiration all around you. I love film, I love music, I love fashion. And Beetlejuice, I remember from back in the day, the very first one with Winona Ryder when she was really young. And I loved that movie. And I just thought, the stripes, I could do something with the stripes. And it was a new technique that I wanted to try out. As I say, there's so many techniques you can do with polymer clay, and I'm constantly learning and constantly trying. With the Beetlejuice, I made like these little ghosts.
Yes, I'd seen those,
And so they started with like a black base, and then you kind of roll out the white and make a tube out of it, and the same with the black, and then you're cutting those shapes. And like once you see how they're cut out and your end results, it's just like, oh my God, that's so gorgeous. And I've been meaning to get back to that. The inspiration, as I say, is all around me. I did, my auntie, who's since passed away, but she used to work in duty free. And when we were really young, she'd give us these amazing makeups, right? Like Mary Quant and Yves Saint Laurent. My older sisters might have got a little bit more out of it, but I was like 7 or 8 and just like smearing it, putting it everywhere. But I remember loving the Mary Quant brand. I don't know if you know it. It's like a black and a white. And she always, I think she was like real mod,
Okay.
It was like a black and a white flower, And it was always like a red lipstick and that. So I did kind of in tribute to Marjorie before she died, a Mary Quant range that was all black and white tones, kind of inspired by that. So yeah, I take inspiration wherever I can get it, basically. And it's a really good day when I get to sit down and put that into practice. I do, as I say, I have a full-time job as well and the kids, and I'm hoping that this becomes more of a full-time job for me, and that I can make the leap at some stage, so I, and cut down my hours in my other job to make a real living out of this, because I just adore it. Yeah, and this is something that we cover an awful lot on this show when you're talking to creatives about their respective crafts. And most of the time it is a case that people are like you. It's that they're indulging in their craft and they're working in it, but to pay the bills, they have to have a full-time job elsewhere with it. And I suppose that ties in nicely with talking about the prices that you would put on these pieces. These are handcrafted pieces. You've talked us through the process there. It's really kind of finicky little, or as you said, the time that it goes into it. Yeah. Do you come up against much backlash from people when they hear your prices going, I don't know about that, because people are comparing it to products that are maybe of a similar nature, but they're being mass produced, therefore can be done a lot more cheaply than the way that you're working. And you're obviously taking into account your time as well as the raw materials. So what has kind of people's reaction been to the price point that you put on your pieces? Like a lot of the time I do get, oh my God, that's really reasonable, Okay. So I want them to be affordable for people as well. Like, I want everybody who wants them to be able to buy them and not be like, oh, that's too expensive. So my price range is kind of like 25 to 45 depending on what you're getting. So it's not wild. But yeah, you do come up against that. I remember at a market I did recently, this lady came up and she was like, oh, they're lovely. €5, is it? And my daughter, she's 10. She had she'd marked the wrong one, basically. Oh no, okay. And I was like, oh no, sorry, I'm really sorry. They're not €5. They're €25. Oh God. That's very expensive, she said. Right. And I took a breath. I tried to count to 10, because I'm thinking in my head of those 10 steps that I have to go through and the time it takes to make it a beautiful shiny piece. And I could see she was just a little bit difficult. And I just went, you know what? I said, these are handmade. They're one of a kind. They're so unique. It takes me a long time to make them. And yeah, you can go to Pennies and buy something for €3 or €5. But they're not made by me. And they're not unique designs. If you're putting that in your ear, you can be guaranteed nobody else has that in their ear. Decorating their ear. So I talked her around and she bought the pair, which I was really delighted about, because even the lady beside me saying she was a bit of a tricky character. So that was a tough sale. Yeah, it was a tough sale, but I was delighted because I was like, I converted that. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of people out there that really do appreciate handmade jewellery. Oh, definitely. And get the time and the craft and the passion and the joy that goes into it. And that's my market, really. You're not looking for the people who are buying their pieces in Pennies. Yes, exactly. That's it. I'm like, you're not my kind of people. And that's okay. There's room for you. But, in a day where I suppose we're all talking about AI taking our jobs and, stuff being mass produced for China, the new tax, I think is coming now, whatever, where people can buy something for €1, €3. You're getting a mass produced piece of plastic or whatever it might be that's not going to last. This has been made with me. I get such excitement out of doing it. I get such joy out of doing it. I hope that comes across. You're not getting that from a machine. You're not getting that from AI when it writes a song, and there's no passion that goes into that. Yeah, I think we need to kind of bring it back on a bigger scale and remember the value of humankind and human made and creativity. Yeah, I think there's a place for both probably, but I think that people should start to reevaluate and enjoy handmade more. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere because we've plenty more to talk about, including an exciting prospect for the Midlands. Midlands 103. You are listening to Encore on Midlands 103 with Zoe Ryan, joined by Cliona Higgins, the creative behind Clay by Clio jewellery brand, where we've been discussing the origins of the company, the inspirations behind the designs and price range. But if we look at durability, as I said earlier, clay, sometimes we can think it's heavy, but also maybe delicate and that it can break easy. What would the level of durability be with these pieces? Are they quite robust or do you have to take care with them? Yeah, it's interesting because when I started, like it really was a learning curve for me, and I was breaking them for 20 minutes and they started to break and they broke my heart, because then you put all that work into them and then you're drilling the hole and it pops and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So now I've gotten better. I make thicker ones. I make them, I bake them for longer. They're an hour in the oven now. So they're actually like when it's done right, and the clay is really durable and it's kind of flexible as well.
Okay.
So we should always have that little bit of give, you know, and like I've dropped them numerous times because that can be a bit of a klutz.
Yeah.
And they've never broken. So yeah, I think I've gotten a lot better at that, but they are very durable. And I get such excitement when I see like an older design and somebody wearing them. I'm like, oh my God, they still look brand new, you know?
Yes.
You can give them like a little baby wipe if they have like your makeup on them.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever,
of course.
and that, but they're durable and they should absolutely last.
And speaking of people wearing them, your earrings have been worn on the likes of news anchors, on people on race days, red carpet events. What's it like to see your creations on public platforms like that?
It's very, very exciting.
Like a bad bet, yeah.
But you know what? From like people that are in the public eye that wear them, like it's amazing to see them on them. And you're like, oh my God, thank you so much for somebody just to buy them and love them from you. But I equally get a kick out of people coming up to me and saying, oh my God, you're Clio. I am Clio. And they're like, I have a pair of your earrings. I'm obsessed with them. And it's such a lovely feeling, you know. And that's as well we are getting when you buy from my Instagram account or in the few stores that I do have at the moment, is that bit of joy and that kick and excitement from me that I've made something that somebody wants to buy and wear.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm sure that we don't have that same level of excitement for whoever is creating things on the end of Shein and all those mass-produced ones. There's no one at the end of it getting that joy.
I should hope not.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. There's not a person at the end of all that. And I suppose that's what I want to get across, that, you know, you're buying a little bit of me, a little bit of my heart went into that, you know. And like when I'm making, I have like music blasting and I'm just in my happy place, kind of like singing along and just seeing where it takes me, you know. I have kind of my general bestsellers that I make all the time and I repeat them in different colours. So they're like kind of small mini hoops or small little drop earrings. And then I have my more wow statement pieces. And they're the ones that I really get a lot of joy out of. They're not for the everyday wearer of earrings. They're my more popular ones. The smaller ones are more everyday. Yeah. But then you get like the real earring lovers that come along and are like, oh my God, I want that. It's big and it's bold and it's bright, and you know, it gives me, such joy to see it, to see them on people, whether they be general public or, you know, somebody more in the public eye that would like to wear them. Yeah. You know, I'd hope in the future for that to grow bigger and to be able to dedicate more time to just the making part of it, because as a small business, it's so hard to be a master of all. Like I don't have a business background or marketing or anything like that. I'm just kind of feeling my way, and
you're the creator.
Yes, exactly. But you have to do all these other elements, I suppose, to kind of keep that going. So I just try be my authentic self, and you know, like I am what you see in the tin as such. With myself, and that's what I put out there on Instagram as well, is just, you know, a little bit of me.
Yes. And you said there that you kind of offer a number of different designs in the range. There's your kind of more subtle everyday pieces, and then you have those statement pieces. Do you have a lot of people coming to you maybe for custom pieces where they're saying like that, I've got a mother of the bride, or I've got, you know, like a race day, something where maybe someone wants something to stand out and get you to custom make it to match an outfit or something like that?
Yeah, that's where I get really excited. I'm like, okay, send me the outfit.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, give me the shoes you're wearing. I want the handbag you're wearing. And it'll just be a bit of a back and forth between me and the client. And I do get a lot of that. And you can probably tell I'm getting quite excited about it because it just gives me carte blanche to go wild, and it's a bit of back and forth with them and saying, okay, well, like, do you like big, do you like small, do you like subtle? And we'll go back and forth until we get the right kind of look for the person, you know? And like, I'll even ask details like, is your hair going to be up? Like, say if they're wearing a halter neck, so like, okay, a long, elegant dangle then is what we want there, you know? Yeah. So yeah, I do get a lot of custom orders as well. You can just like have a look at my previous stuff on Instagram and say, look, I have a communion or a wedding or like a big birthday coming up, and this is what I was thinking of wearing. Or you could just start with the earring and say, I want these colours.
Yeah.
And then find the dress to match. That's kind of how I like to do it.
Sometimes it does happen the other way around though, doesn't it?
You're like, if you're a real accessories person, it can be just like, I want these big earrings and then I'm going to get like a really subtle dress.
Yeah.
And they're going to be the big wow, and my hair is going to be up, So yeah, I'll work with them.
And do you have any plans to extend out the range? At the moment, it's earrings, but do you plan on maybe broadening that out and saying you're going to create jewellery for maybe like a necklace or a bracelet or other types of jewellery? Or are you thinking, I'm going to stick with the earrings?
So earrings, I think, will always be my passion. As you can see, I'm wearing them today. They are definitely like my first love. But I love necklaces as well, you know. So I'm wearing actually one of my pieces today. I don't know if you spotted it, my crescent moon.
Yes.
And there's like a little, it's gold for people who obviously can't see it because we're on radio, and there's a little pop of pink on it. And so I started doing these, I think, last year, and I'm slowly kind of getting into doing a little bit more of necklaces. Some people have asked for sets.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd love to expand and just kind of keep going and pushing it, but I think like that earrings will still always be like my first and foremost.
Yeah, well that's where it all started.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm constantly wanting to learn new techniques and try out new stuff. Like I think I've got about 3 or 4 designs in my head at the moment that I have to get on paper, and I can't wait this summer. I've got like a little bit of time off to just really get like bet down into that and see what they turn out like. And I get so excited then seeing the end result, when you put like the last bit of gloss on and it's all sealed in, and then you're matching up like the fittings to it. And yeah, sometimes I blow myself away and I'm like, oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's when I know I've done something really good and creative and that somebody's going to want to buy, because I feel like I'd wear it. And I'd buy it.
And going back to kind of pushing the boundaries and pushing yourself and aspiring for more, you currently can buy your items through yourself directly, or you're in a number of different stock lists around the country, but you don't currently have a retailer in the Midlands who are showcasing them, but you would like to.
I would love to, absolutely. I just want to like push my brand out there a little bit more. And I would love for a local like craft shop or gift shop, or like I'm in a store that's kind of like a smaller Evoca, that has that kind of craft element. I can see it in those settings. I'm also in like a really cool boutique that's near me. And they have like I'm sitting alongside a Little Idea and Messy Brunette, who are other really, well, they're big earring brands, and I sell really well and perform really well there.
Okay.
So I would love something like that in that setting, or if somebody has a different idea of where they would place my earrings. But I think what you're getting with me is you're getting my staples that come in all different colours, my mini hoops and my little drops, and I do some huggy style earrings as well, and the Keshi pearls. They're the ones that I roll out all the time. But you're also getting my statement pieces that are never really quite the same. They might be repeated designs, but never in the same colour as such. And I think, some brands repeat the same thing over and over again. But then if you have one of each of those styles, then you've nowhere to go and your customer has nowhere to go. Yeah. But I think, mine is constantly moving and changing. And I think that should be of a good appeal to a retailer, that their client base isn't going to get sick of what's on stock there. Do you know what I mean? That it's like not going to be the same thing over and over again.
It's not tired.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not tired or stale.
Yes. So yeah, reinvents itself.
And it's a young brand. And I'd love if there's anybody out there, you can contact me on Clay by Clio, that's CLIO, and just slide into my DMs and we can have a chat. Like that's how people buy from me on Instagram as well. It's very much a bit of a back and forth. Like there is a human at the end of this.
It's a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. To kind of find what you want. And like I don't always have all of my library of earrings up there, but if they say, look, I'm really looking for something in green, what have you got? I'll just send them pictures. Equally, if you're a retailer and you think that, well, look, my new stock coming in for the autumn, let's say, is sage green, taupe colours and orange or something. Could you make something in along those lines? Absolutely. I'm happy to do. Like that's how I make. I make in batches of like 12 to 24.
Yeah. So you make to order.
Yeah, exactly. They're made to order. So I'm happy to work with the retailer as well and define exactly what they want.
So if there are any retailers listening in the Midlands who think that your brand kind of aligns with what they're offering, they can get in touch with you. But at present then, how is it that people go about seeking out and purchasing your items?
Instagram at the moment. I hope in time that I will have a website. That's my kind of small term goals that I'll have.
That's this year's New Year's resolution.
Yes, exactly. So watch the space. And I would love to have a few more retailers there that just helps push my work out there a little bit more.
Cliona, it's really been a delight having you in the studio today, and it's great to see that passion. As you said, it's really emanating from you, and it's lovely to see that maybe someone who has a craft, that they've not been worn down by the pressures of life and that thing of going, well, I love doing this, but like that I'm coming up against people who don't want to pay the price, or it's not paying the bills. It's nice to see you've not been worn down by that and you're still aspiring for more, and that you do aspire for this to take over the day job and be something that you can pursue. So as I said, thanks a million for coming into us. It's been a joy.
Thank you so much for having me, Zoe. That's so lovely of you.
There you have it. If you're a retailer interested in stocking or just want to get your hands on a pair of Cliona's creations, pop her a message on Instagram at Clay by Clio. That's Clio spelled CLIO. And now for a completely different art form, one you could say is out of this world. More on that after this. Midlands 103. You're tuned into Encore on Midlands 103 with Zoe Ryan. Now, Mount Rath-based photographer Paul Fetherstonhaugh's work has been shortlisted for the 2026 Reach for the Stars astrophotography competition run by the School of Cosmic Physics at Dublin Institute of Advanced Studies. It celebrates the beauty of the night sky, for which Paul appropriately submitted a shot of the Heart Nebula. Paul, how did this all come about?
Well, I'm a photographer. I'm a member of the Medic Camera Club. My specialties are usually wildlife landscape photography.
Yeah.
But then I got sort of an interest in astrophotography about 2 years ago. And the first thing I did was, here, look, this Milky Way everyone's talking about. So I said I'd go out and have a go at that. And it kind of started from there, you know, and I said, well, there's more to this astrophotography than the Milky Way. So that's when I said I'd have a go at shooting nebula and so on. Deep sky objects, they're called.
And would you have had any interest in the galactics before? Kind of, as you said, you kind of would normally do wildlife photography. Why was it that you started looking up to the skies for photography?
Well, I suppose all of us are in awe of the universe and the skies, but it was looking at, being a photographer, I mean, looking at other photos, the Milky Way sometimes featured in stunning photographs. And I said, well, this should be within my range of skills. And it is a different skill set now when you go to astro, because with landscape or wildlife, you point the camera at your subject,
yes,
click, and there's your image. But with astrophotography, you have to have a tripod, take at least a sort of 15 to 20 second exposure, and then pray your image is in focus. It was another challenge, really, and one that just grew and grew. And in the last year, I've been sort of shooting nebulas such as the Heart, which you see in the Reach for the Stars competition, but also the North American Nebula, very colourful, the Californian Nebula, and of course Orion, which has the Horsehead Nebula, and they're all pretty well known, you know.
And how is it that you actually go about taking a photograph of the skies? You kind of discussed it there about you need a tripod, but I assume you don't use your own camera. Is it that you have to use a telescopic lens that can take photographs, or how is it done?
Well, how it's done is, as far as for a Milky Way shot, you can get away with 15, 20 seconds where you don't need any equipment other than your camera, a wide-angle lens, and a good tripod, just to keep the thing secure. But when you go to deep sky objects, that's where you need to get a device to enable the camera to rotate at the same speed as the Earth is rotating. And funny enough, the Earth is rotating at a speed of 1,654 kilometers. So if you exceed a 20-second exposure, you're going to have what they call streaking stars, or stars that are pearl-shaped rather than pin-sharp. So that's when you get this thing called a rotator or equatorial mount. And once you've set that up on your tripod, it will rotate the camera at the same speed as the Earth is moving, and therefore your stars don't fade. So you can take longer exposures, like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, that kind of thing, which is what you need for nebula. But that's pretty well it.
It's fascinating.
It is. It's a whole skill set. Now, when you started off, you're a little bit in awe of it, but really once you dig into it, it's not that difficult to do. The only frustrating part is waiting for a clear night, because living in Ireland, beside the Atlantic, it's pretty well cloudy 95% of the time. So you have to be prepared to go out when you see a clear spot in the sky. Now, my wife complains I'm always looking at the sky now, and that's the way it is. But really, there are just two things you require: determination, patience, and an abundance of endurance, because you will be disappointed. Many a night you'll go out and you'll set all the camera gear up, which can take about 20 minutes, and next thing the clouds roll in, you say, oh, mother, there goes my image, and you just have to pack up.
Yeah.
So you just have to keep at it. But if you keep at it, you will learn more about the night sky, the configuration of the constellations and where things are, and you will get better and better at it. Practice, practice, practice.
And you've mentioned that image there that has been shortlisted for the Reach for the Stars competition. Mm-hmm. When you took that photograph, did you instantly know there was something there? I know myself that sometimes, even if you're doing an interview, someone can say a line and you think, that's it, that's the line. So did you have that feeling when you took the photograph going, there's something in that, I'm not sure what I'm going to use it for yet, but there is something there?
So when I take a shot, and I took a shot of that particular nebula, I think I gave it 60 seconds and I took 60 exposures. But I knew immediately when I looked at the back of the camera, the back of the camera will give you a display of the image taken. I could see the Heart Nebula pretty clearly in the back. So I said, bingo.
And as I said, the competition, this has been shortlisted for it. Have you ever entered this competition before? You said that you have been taking photographs of this nature for a while.
No,
or is this your first time?
No, short answer. Zoe, no, I was my first time in. And it was my wife actually who encouraged me, why don't you enter that competition for all these nights you're going out? So I said, but I gave it a go, and I was pleasantly surprised then when it was shortlisted. But I knew it was a pretty good image,
And Paul, tell us a little bit about this nebula.
Well, yes. Now, I'm a photographer rather than an astronomer, but what I know of it, if you like, it's a giant, massive, glowing cloud of dust and gas, and sometimes referred by the experts as cosmic mists. And these nebula are the birthplace of new stars and the remnants of dead stars, and they're usually very colourful. In the case of the Heart Nebula, it's mainly red in colour. There are blue parts, which unfortunately I didn't get, but they are the particles of hydrogen, helium, and the birthing and death of stars. It really is quite extraordinary what is up there when you dig into it. So that's all I can tell you about it. And if you have a pair of binoculars, take a look.
Mm-hmm. And is the formation typically that heart shape, or was it a case of the day that you took the photograph, it was in that formation, or is that its usual shape?
No, this is the beauty of astrophotography. It never changes. The image will always be the same. Even when we depart this world, that will be the same configuration. That's why I can go back to it in a year or 2 years, take the image again, it will be exactly the same, and I can integrate it and make a larger, more, how would I say, detailed image.
And is this something that you'd like to pursue kind of more regularly? Do you think that this could maybe become a niche area for you, or do you still dabble with the wildlife images?
Still dabble with the wildlife and the landscape. They would always be my kind of priority areas, but I do intend to proceed on the astro journey because it's only in the last year I've accumulated enough skill sets to do it and to know what I'm about.
Yeah.
And I'm cataloguing, what comes up when. For instance, this time of year, not great because you don't get full astronomical twilight. In other words, complete darkness.
Right.
You really have to wait until, say, August up to the end of April is pretty good. So I'm just waiting for the minute and the hour, or the hour and the minute, whatever way you wish to put it.
And is there anything up there that you'd love to get a shot of, but you just haven't managed to get yet? Or is it a case of you've explored the skies, but maybe it's that a case of you've gotten photographs, but you maybe haven't got the photograph yet of certain areas?
I could list off about 30 objects I'd like to get a shot at, to be honest with you, and that's just pushing it in the low basket. Now, for instance, I have got Orion, which is probably, the Orion Nebula is probably the most well-known. And it's not a bad image, but I know I can do an awful lot better. So I intend to do that, and with other objects as well.
Okay, so that's on the wish list.
Yeah, exactly. But the great thing about astrophotography is, for that image, I have in the Reach for the Stars the Arc Nebula. Now, when its turn comes around again, which will be sort of December to January, I can take further images of that. I could take another 60 seconds, and then I can integrate those with the one I already have, which will give me a lot more information, and therefore I get a better quality image. So the thing is, you can keep going back on everything.
Yes.
And enlarge the information, integrate more information, get a better image, get more detail, get more colour, and so on and so forth. And
I mean, you said that, it's not hard to get these photographs. To me, it seems quite complex, but is it expensive? I imagine that there's additional equipment required than your stereotypical photography pieces. So would it be an expensive pastime to try and get into?
No, not really. Now, look, I mean, the camera I use, you can get on eBay for about $350. You get a second-hand 400mm lens for the same kind of money. A tripod, get a decent one. Don't buy a cheap one. Spend about $150 on that. And that's your starter setup for astrophotography. Then if you want to do what I'm doing, like the Nebula, then you need to get this little Earth rotator that I mentioned earlier, or what they call sometimes an equatorial mount. Now that'll set you back about $250 up to, say, $500 for an extremely powerful one. But then you're in the game. You're in the game big time.
Yeah.
Now, if you want, the sky's the limit with astrophotography. You can buy more super duper lenses, and you can buy auto guiding equipment, which follows the stars to make sure your images are perfect and all of this kind of thing. But thus far, I haven't had to use it, so I just keep going around, slowly build it up. And
how was it that you originally got into photography in the first place? What drew you to it?
Well, I suppose I always had an interest in photography. When I was at school, there was a little camera club, so I got into that. But really didn't think much more about it until 10 years ago. I joined the Mount Camera Club to see what was going on, and it's a very good club, so they sparked my interest in photography, and I entered, with our local competitions and things like that. And in no time at all, you're saying, gosh, this is great. I can do wildlife now, and I can do landscape. And then 2 years ago, I steered myself into this astrophotography, which is a mind changer, really. It's extraordinary what you can see.
Fantastic. Paul, thank you very much for taking my call this evening.
You're very welcome. And look, thanks for having me on your great show.
And you can view Paul's and all of the other shortlisted photographs on the reachforthestars.ie website and vote for your favourite. But you'll need to get your vote in before Monday, July 13th, and it's only one vote per person, so do choose wisely. Up next, Croghan-born TV and film creative turned author Christopher Galvin will be bringing us back down to earth, but to an alternative universe.
Midlands 103.
It is that time again of a Thursday evening as we enter our final segment of Encore for another week. Now, a man who is well accustomed to live broadcast environments and waiting for his cue. It is Offaly native Christopher Galvin. Chris, thanks a million for agreeing to take my call on the eve of launching your first book.
Thanks very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Chris, you've said before that your background in film and TV informs your writing. Explain that to me.
I think because an awful lot of what I loved growing up was films and cartoons and animations and stuff like that. So when it came to writing stuff, I always tried to imagine exactly what it looked like or exactly what it sounded like. And even with the book, The Thing About Giants, there's an awful lot of sound effects in there because I wanted the reader to be able to really hear what was going on as well as imagining what was going on. So it's always been with me. And then I suppose developing short film scripts when I went to college and developing those. Again, I was really into getting into the visual and the story as quickly as possible and kind of making sure that the audience knew exactly what was going on. And that's kind of where it's all the influences come from.
And so you've been writing, or well, more so you've been working in film and TV for, a long time now. You have obviously been working in that sphere with the writing, but why was it you decided to sit down and write a novel?
Oh, well, I never thought I would, to be honest with you. I didn't think I had the patience for it. But I actually had an idea for a different book, not this one before, that I started writing. And then it just kind of grew and grew and grew and grew. Yeah. And it became, I don't know, this big, unwieldy book that I'm still working on in the background, to be honest with you. But what I learned from that, I was able to apply to Thing About Giants as well. But yeah, no, it was, yeah, I'm very surprised that I actually wrote a novel, to be honest. But now I've gotten into it, I kind of know the beats and the how to build a story and how to, I suppose, set it over so many pages and over many chapters, you know.
You've mentioned the title of the new book there, The Thing About Giants. Tell me about the plot line without, I suppose, giving too much away.
Okay, well, The Thing About Giants is set in a world where humans hunt giants for their bones, and they use their bones to build their homes in their city of Fetherstonhaugh. And the story centres around 11-year-old girl called Jack, who's the daughter of famous giant hunters, and Corman, who is a giant who has lost his father to giant hunters. And it's about when they meet, what happens between them, as in friendship develops, and then they discover a deadly conspiracy. And then I suppose it kind of goes on to preconceived ideas of what the other person is supposed to be like, you know.
And would this idea have come from, I suppose, an interest of your own? Like, I know myself that, you know, growing up, I would have been very into sci-fis, and this would have been right down my streak. So when you go to sit down and write a children's book, when you're no longer a child yourself, do you go back to that childlike state and think, if I was a child, what would I like to read?
To be honest with you, I don't really think I've grown up that much since.
That's fair enough.
I still like, I still like the things I like. The things I loved when I was a kid, like, you know, sci-fi and all of that, and to a little bit degree horror. I'm more into it now. I was very much a scaredy cat when I was a kid, but all of those things I've kind of carried with me into my adulthood, and I've kind of went, well, this is what I still love, and I just think children would like this story, you know, it's full of adventure, it's full of heart, it's got really terrible villains in it, and I love really terrible villains, because then I can, by the end of the story, I can kind of have justice done, you know.
Yes.
That's where I kind of come from when it comes to influences and why I want to write this book and for children.
And has this experience kind of given you the bug now? Have you gone, this is the first, but I'd like to do another one? And do you think will you stick to children's books?
Well, I'm in the middle of writing the sequel to this.
Oh, okay. So we're well on our way.
We're well on our way. And I've actually two other books. While I was waiting for edits for one of the for Giants, somewhere along the way, I wrote another book, and then I wrote another. So I have two other books kind of ready to go if the publisher would like to see them at some stage. Okay. So yeah, I'm kind of like, I do enjoy it, and I do love it, and it's a case of hopefully I'll get to do this for a good long time, but we shall see. I'm hopeful.
And speaking of, the book is being launched tomorrow in your hometown.
Yeah, so this is the third time that it's been launched. Right. So it was launched in London, it was launched in chapters in Dublin, and the Croghan Development Group reached out to me, Roisin Sort reached out and asked if it was okay to do an event for the book and for myself down in Croghan, where I'm from. And I went, yeah, that would be lovely. And it's been a really lovely experience chatting to them, and all of Croghan's been so supportive about the book, and so I've been overwhelmed by it, to be honest with you. But so it's taking place tomorrow night in the Croghan Community Centre at 8:00, and then everyone's welcome if they so want to visit and drop in and say hello.
And you do have a little bit of an announcement for us that the book has been recognised.
Oh yeah, so the book has been chosen by Children's Books Ireland as one of their Irish recommended reads for their third quarter for Ireland, and they've done that in partnership with Easton's. So that's a huge boost. Like, Easton's had me as their children's book of the month for June, and now this has come along, which will be great to see, because Children's Books Ireland are really good and really pushing books into kids' hands and encouraging kids to read. So I think it's a really good opportunity, and I'm really grateful for it.
And I assume that's a very much a welcomed push, because the market is really oversaturated with children's books at the moment, and there's a lot that they're very similar, and it's hard to get them to stand out.
Yeah, I think I'm still new to the whole publishing thing, to be honest with you. But I get what you're saying, and there is so many books out there, and there's so many things, and I think part of it as well is, I know some people say don't judge a book by its cover, but I actually think the cover actually helps stand out on the shelves. Yeah. And that was something that was worked on for a very long time as well. But yeah, I get it, and I'm not sure how it's technically doing in Ireland and UK yet, but I've been getting some really great reviews. There's a lot of people messaging me that I even heard from in years saying, I picked up the book, it looks brilliant, or my grandson has read the book and this is brilliant, and that's all fantastic, and it's all encouraging as well. It probably didn't, like working for Virgin Media Television, I was able to get onto Ireland AM, and they were very great about it too. So everything helps, and we should see how it goes.
Well, this is the thing, they say it's all about right time, right place. And when you do work in that world and you do have connections, you may as well use them, because as I said, it's really hard to be noticed and to stand out. So it's great that through your work platforms, you've been able to elevate the book. But I would 100% agree with you there. As someone who's very creative and artistic, it would be the covers of the books that would sway me, or at least catch my eye anyways, on the bookshelf. So it is important. Yeah,
it definitely is. But a lot of work has gone into it from Walker Publishers, like the editing has been great. My partner Lynn as well, who's listening at the moment, I'm going to say hello to her, because she's been fantastic as well. And everyone that I've met has helped make the book what it is. And I think I have hopes that it will do well, and that people will really respond positively to it.
And you need those supports as well, because every time someone comes and says they've embarked on something new, you're going, how did you even start that? How did you know where to start? And then like that, if you don't have the right supports behind you, it can be tough to continue with it. Yeah, and I've got some fantastic support. Everyone has just been like, let's get on board, let's do this, let's do that, and it's like, and it's been, I feel privileged with people I know. Fantastic. Christopher, remind us again about how people can go down to the book launch tomorrow, where it's going to be, what time it is, and also where they can find out more about yourself, maybe on socials. Okay. Well, the launch is on tomorrow at 8 p.m. in the Croghan Community Centre in Croghan. I don't know how people will know how to get there. Croghan Hill, it's between, I suppose, past Dank and all that. It starts at 8 o'clock. Great. Everyone's welcome. There's no charge or anything like that. You just go in, and there'll be some speeches and teas and sandwiches, and the books will be on sale there from Midland Books as well. Fantastic. Brilliant, Chris. Thank you very much for that. It's been a pleasure. Okay, cheers. Thank you so much. That's all from me tonight. Joe Cooney's up next with Country Roads, and I'll be back at the same time next week, bringing you more of what's happening in the line of arts and entertainment locally. Until then, I hope you have a very good evening, and try not to get burnt out in that sun. Good night.